Welcome back to the show. I'm Raisa Pascal. If this is your first time joining us, then I want you to stop what you're doing and head over to the Russ Scala YouTube channel to watch part 1 of our series on how patients with paralysis have a different metabolism. We had a fascinating discussion on new research that shows that the top 10 rehabilitation facilities in the U.S. are not offering advanced metabolic testing as a form of treatment. Scala Precision Health is raising awareness about this rehabilitation paradigm among centers nationwide. And today we're going to dive deeper into that very topic. Please help me welcome back to the show, Russ Scala. Hey, Russ.
How you doing?
I'm wonderful. Always a pleasure to be speaking with you.
Yeah, I like this topic. It's really helping families. And we've been developing research for about 10 years on this and slowly dripping it out there to certain physicians. And there are some sweeping generalizations, but one of the most important things to do is to educate the families.
Absolutely.
You know, because they become caregivers after a war veteran comes back that's paralyzed or somebody's in an auto accident. They become caregivers and they're being pulled in multiple directions. They really don't know where to go. So educating the families is critical, right, to make the right decisions.
Absolutely. We had a lot of education in part 1 of this series. Hopefully those of you at home are going to go and watch that. But if you could just maybe kick us off with a quick recap of what we were discussing.
Yeah, like I said, we interviewed the top 10 rehab centers, and they do what they do. They put the harness. They have the harness. They have the muscle stimulation. They have aquatics therapy. They even have therapists that work with the brain chemistry of the patient to keep them motivated. So, but there's a gap missing. If they're worried about muscle wasting, and if they're looking at advanced nutritional protocols, in the top 10 centers, that's not being done. So we wanted to focus on that area. I used this chart in the last video.
Yes.
We offer these centers or these families just to do basic testing. Hundreds of times I just told families to do this testing to look at hormonal levels and educate the families to understand if you're under chronic stress, you're going to lower hormone levels, you're going to lower nutrition, you're going to lower IGF-1, which is important in the rehab process. So we walk families through this chart and then give them the blood work to take to their physician. Some of the doctors say, well, I've never seen this blood work before, why should I do it? So the family has to learn to push back and say, I want to get this blood work done because it's looking at multiple metabolic markers. So educating the family is important. Now, a lot of the families that we talk to, they have 3 or 4 physicians, and none of the physicians are talking to each other, which is very frustrating to the family.
Yeah.
So each physician is offering his treatment protocol or his different medication. And let me give you an example. We had one family that one of the patients, a lot of patients get put on antidepressants, a lot of patients get put on sleeping pills. Well, what are the natural occurring hormones in the body, right, that can help you with sleep? Well, we know GABA is one thing that could elevate, that helps with sleep. We know that oxytocin, they call it the love hormone, the natural occurring hormone that when you and I are talking or you're with a pet or you're breastfeeding your children, you elevate oxytocin levels. So we said, why don't we slowly move the patient off the sleeping pill, milligram to milligram, and then introduce oxytocin and progesterone, natural occurring hormones that, if you do the research, will help with sleep. So that's some of the things that we do. We look at multiple metabolic markers in the body. We try to correct all nutritional hormonal deficiencies with a focus on the brain, with a focus on the intestinal tract, which is the second brain. If a paralyzed patient's intestinal tract is out of balance, which many are, they're not going to pull nutrients out of food. It's going to slow down the rehab process. And then we look at mitochondrial function. You need mitochondria to grow muscle tissues. You need mitochondria at the cellular level. Okay, your heart has millions of mitochondria in it. Your heart beats over 100,000 times a day. Your brain is super metabolically active, and mitochondria is what creates energy. So wouldn't you want to use a diet to increase mitochondrial function? And that's it. Do we give them the testing? Go ahead and do this. And some facilities are so busy and making enough money, they don't want to look at anything else. I get that. A lot of the doctors agree with this, but don't know how to implement it. I go, well, I'll help you implement it. I got a pharmacy and a nutritional testing lab that's been around for 30 years that incorporate this into your practice. Some of them just want to keep doing what they're doing, and that's okay too. But the main thing is to educate the families. They're getting pulled in multiple directions. You know, families will get, you know, families have a doctor put somebody on a sleeping pill, and then, you know, that's okay. But then when we want to introduce advanced testing, they push back on it. Well, I rather do the advanced testing, look at natural occurring hormones in the body to prevent muscle wasting, because every paralyzed patient is biochemically unique. They got different things going on, whether it's constipation, depression, brain chemistry. What are we going to do? Are we going to medicate all those symptoms?
Of course not.
Okay, I mean, it's not rocket science, right?
Yeah.
So do the testing and find out where you are, and then let's take it to the next level. And that's where a lot of my time, and you're helping me with this, is to educate the families.
I want to talk a little more about those challenges that you're facing in this testing and treatment section. We covered the program development last time, but
Right.
now that we're within this, you mentioned pushback and doctors who maybe aren't willing to, you know, accept this data. Can you speak to how you're overcoming these challenges, and are those the only challenges? What else are you facing in this?
Well, we have a few doctors at rehab centers that are looking at this now, and they're the gems.
Okay.
They're the great people to work with. But for other rehab centers, there's a rehab center in Switzerland that's doing something called the digital bridge. The digital bridge is using AI and electrical stimulation to bypass the spinal injury, and people are now starting to be upright and start walking.
Wow.
Well, if you have somebody that's muscle wasting all these years and you're not taking care of the metabolism, and then all of a sudden the digital bridge with AI comes into focus, you're going to be asking somebody to work with a poor metabolism. Plus, paralyzed patients have a higher degree of diabetes and heart disease and dealing with depression. Again, are we going to treat all those separately with medication, or are we going to look at natural metabolic markers?
So then, Russ, how are you implementing this? Sorry, let me start.
Okay.
So then, Russ, how are you implementing this program into a rehab facility?
Can I get another chart?
Let's do it.
Okay.
I love your charts.
We're going to use some high-tech special effects here.
Okay, here we go. Woo!
Oh my God, look at that.
Here we go. Okay.
And you thought Star Wars or something.
All right, what are we looking at here?
This is the multiple metabolic markers that the 10 rehab centers across the United States aren't doing.
Aren't doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, something simple. This is why we educate the family. A lot of the family members, when they first get on the phone with me, they say, make sure I understand what you're saying and put it into a format I understand. I go, not only do that, I'll help educate you, and then I'll send you the research so you can send it to your doctor so they know you're up to speed, you know what you're talking about. Or I'll do a 3-way phone call with you and we'll get them up to speed on what they need, right?
Absolutely. Did you want to go into any of that, or?
Yeah, for sure. Now, understand every paralyzed patient is biochemically unique. He has different deficiencies. He has different symptoms that we want to go after. So why don't we think about environmental toxins? Environmental toxins and everything you put on their skin can elevate free radicals and slow down the rehab process. And you could Google all this, look up the research, and become a rock star yourself. They have unique nutritional deficiencies, right? It's not a stretch. Families are giving their patients, you know, since the doctors aren't trained in nutrition, they're giving their the paralyzed patients different medications, different vitamins and minerals. Why don't we test and find out what specific nutritional deficiencies they have? Is that a stretch?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, there we go.
Wow.
Hormonal deficiencies. We know that a lot of paralyzed patients experience muscle wasting.
Yep.
We know that multiple metabolic markers are involved in hormonal levels. We know that paralyzed patients over the years, they are more susceptible to diabetes and heart disease and depression, because all systems, all hormones in the body assist multiple metabolic pathways in the body, in the metabolism. A lot of doctors compartmentalize it. Oh, if you're depressed, take an antidepressant. Oh, if you're not sleeping, take a sleeping pill. Oh, if you need, they don't have anything for muscle wasting, and, even though they're doing the electrical stimulation, the advanced rehab therapies, nobody's checking the metabolism. So this is what we're teaching the families. You can check the metabolism and track it.
Yep. We actually have a quote about your program that I think ties in really well from Dr. Lisa Corso. But if you could just give us context for the viewer of who Dr. Lisa Corso is.
Yeah, she's one of the doctors that reviewed this program. She's out of Boca Raton, working with one family, and she's definitely an outside-the-box thinker, and she actually took the time to go through the research. She understands about mitochondrial function, how testing the mitochondria is important. She understands the ketogenic diet, that the ketogenic diet is important. I'm still working on her with the ketogenic diet.
Okay.
On how it creates more energy, and it's going to be the future. And then the microbiome testing the intestinal tract, which is a second brain. Every paralyzed patient needs about 21 minerals, 13 vitamins, 8 amino acids from protein, and 2 essential fats every day. If they're not pulling that out of the food that we're feeding them, they're going to mine it from their own tissues, slowing down the rehab process. So Dr. Lisa Corso, yeah, she gave us a good response, which you'll read, which we don't get this very often. It often takes hours and months for their folks to implement, for a rehab center to implement this process. So after talking to Lisa, I got her set up with our research lab to do the testing, and then obviously I was in touch with the family and Dr. Corso trying to move this program forward. But this is the basics, and she's one of the few physicians we talked to over the years that was at least willing to look at the research. You know, you got to think about it. It's a business and they got to make money. I'm not downplaying them. So they like the programs they're offering. They got a slick website. They've got aquatherapy, and they've got, you know, some of them do acupuncture. And I'm thinking, if you want to prevent muscle wasting, then why not these facilities? Why aren't you looking at the metabolism and doing this advanced testing, right? Is that a stretch?
It's not a stretch.
If you want to prevent muscle wasting,
Stretch.
why don't you look at hormonal levels?
Wow.
You know, I've tested thousands of bodybuilders. Look what they do to their muscle. Some of the information we look at bodybuilders, we help with the elderly. Again, immersing yourself in two different fields that don't talk to each other. And what families run into is they're dealing with a general practitioner, a doctor, an endocrinologist, a neurologist, and they're never on the same page. Last year I tried to get a family to order blood work, and the doctor wouldn't do it. Now, if an educated family member comes into a neurologist's office and says, please do hormonal testing, I want to see where the hormone levels are to prevent muscle wasting, and they don't do it, the reason they don't do it is because they're not going to know what to do with the test results. So I tell the family, I'll get on the phone with the doc, I'll send them the research, I'll build a therapeutic relationship with you and your doctor. Why would a doctor say, I don't want to look at metabolic testing? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You know, step out of the box a little bit.
It all has to do with profit at the end of the day. Let's get into the quote, and then let's unpack that a little bit
Yeah,
more.
sure.
So here's our quote from Dr. Lisa Corso. The program appears to be centered around optimizing recovery through metabolic testing and individualized interventions, with a particular focus on areas that can be affected after a neurological event such as a stroke. These include muscle preservation, sarcopenia, bone health, gut function, hormonal balance, and cellular energy systems such as mitochondrial function. While this type of approach is not typically included in standard stroke rehabilitation, it may provide insight into systematic issues that can influence long-term recovery and overall function. That just hit a whole bunch of these. So it seems she's giving you a thumbs up, giving the program a thumbs up. So what are the barriers to entry?
Well, like I said, the first barrier to entry is you've got to educate the family. And sometimes the family, you know, they drank the Kool-Aid. They only believe what their doctor's saying, and that's fine. But a lot of people come to me and say, what advanced testing can we do? And I'm like, you're going to have to get an education on this to take control of the person in your family that's paralyzed. Are you willing to do that? Yeah. You know, because, you know, sometimes the doctors give you pushback and they intimidate the family. You know, and that's crazy, but more families are educated. Dr. Lisa Corso from Premier Medical in Boca took the time to read, right? Yeah. I mean, out of a 24-hour period, she has a patient or I know the family, and we're trying to help him get better. And I told her, I met her face to face. I told her all this testing is not doing anything this testing is not being done anywhere. And if you're the first facility to do this, you will stand above the other 10 facilities in the United States. And my lawyers and my team say, well, you're giving away your intellectual property. You know my answer is to that?
That's not what it's
So
about. You're
what?
saving lives,
So what?
helping people.
I could develop this stuff in my sleep. Seriously. And if I could help a family, educate them like I've done in many other conditions, then this is where we have to go. Medicine's broken right now. Anybody figure that out? Anyway, I know, right? No, Dr. Lisa Corso she's a gem, and I hope she's around for a long time, because who knows what we'll be able to do.
Yeah. You mentioned just now medicine's broken. There's a really shocking statistic I want to share. So we have 5.4 million paralyzed patients in the U.S., and 300,000 of them are war vets. So what are the first steps they can take just to bring all of this home, like all this information we're talking about, these metabolic testing? What can those patients do?
The first thing they could do is watch our video, direct them to watch our videos,
Yep.
and then examine their current treatment protocol, and then compare it to what we said.
Yeah.
That's how magic happens.
All
Right? That's how magic.
Absolutely.
Remember I told you about Upton Sinclair, wrote the benefits of fasting in 1901.
1901. This data has been around for a while.
So using this medium, this video medium, to educate families or to plant a seed, that's why I do this, right?
Well, what do you say we wrap up this conversation so they can go browsing around your YouTube channel and find some more hot topics?
I
How
like
about that?
That's good.
Thank you, Russ, for joining us.
Yeah. That's good. I
Always
appreciate it. I
chatting
love
with
it.
you. Well, for more information on Scala Precision Health, you can head over to scalaprecisionhealth.com and the Russ Scala YouTube channel, where a wealth of free knowledge awaits you. You can also find Russ's book, American Biohacker, on Amazon. I want to thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.